And then the funeral itself, you said it was a service funeral. What was the part that you played in it?
I wanted my main character moment. No. Um, so I have, unfortunately, in my family become the resident funeral speaker. I've been to a lot of funerals. I think between the ages of 19 and 26, I think I went to 7. And most of them were young or middle-aged people. There was only one very elderly person. Yeah. So, I've spoken at my grandpa's funeral. I've spoken at my uncle's funeral. Like it's, so obviously I wanted to speak at my dad's, because there was no one else that could give that perspective on him. So I wrote a piece, which I put off writing for quite a long time. I said the celebrant, she was being so lovely
What's
to me.
a celebrant?
She's so like a non-religious funeral lead. Well, they do weddings as well, but like instead of having like a priest or a vicar, so we're not religious. Like my dad was brought up Catholic, but lapsed as a teenager, so I wasn't brought up religious. So we had like the odd nod, we had like a prayer at the end, but it was predominantly a non-religious ceremony. So you tend to have a celebrant who's just
Makes sense.
And she was lovely, and I said to her, I was like, you need to give me a deadline for when you need this piece, because there's so much to do, other stuff to do, and I'm just going to keep putting it off. And she was being so lovely, and she was like, well, I've said to the other speakers I need it by then, but obviously you can have as long. And I was like, nope, tell me you need mine then too. So she did. So I eventually was like, right, I need to write this. So I just sat down in my room and like, I think it took me 2 hours. I just wrote the whole thing.
Wow.
And read it to my mom, and then was like, cool, this is good.
How did your mum receive it?
Oh, she cried, obviously. Yeah. Yeah, I think she was very much like, look, you don't have to read it if you don't want to. Like, don't feel bad if it gets to the day and you just can't do it. And the celebrant had said the same. I think she was like, obviously has been in this situation a lot of times, and she was like, look, if you need someone, you can either, I can take over, or someone of your choosing can take over, or whatever. And I was kind of like, no. I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm definitely going to do it. And I think she was kind of like, okay. I'm thinking like, she doesn't realize how horrendous this is going to be.
Yeah.
But I just...
So was it horrendous, or how did you feel the moment when you had to step up and start speaking into the mic?
Yeah. So I did do it, obviously, spoiler alert, because I think I was so determined to do it, because obviously I'd written it in my voice. And so I knew that it wouldn't be as good if anyone else read it, because like I know how I would want to say things. And I'd quite carefully chosen the order. Obviously I kind of, with my mum, like we planned the entire obviously service, and I remember the celebrant saying to me, you should say your thing first, so then you're done and you haven't got that pressure hanging over you. But I was like, I want to go last because I'm the most important.
That's fair.
So I kind of looked at the other speakers, and it was his sister and his best friend from school, and then and the inspector from his work. So it's like quite a senior ranked police. And I was like, you know what? I'll go after him, because his will be the least emotional, because it'll probably be, about Chris was a good colleague, blah, blah, blah. So I'll go after him, because then I'll be, there's nothing that's going to sort of shake me up, not an emotional piece of music. It's not, I know his best friend was going to be welling up. Like, I'll go after the inspector. Perfect. And the inspector sobbed his way through his speech. He was really emotional. And I was like sitting there like, oh crap. That was not the plan. So then when it got to it, I think I didn't really, I thought I was like, okay, just look at someone. I knew where I couldn't look. I knew I couldn't look at my mom, obviously, or my grandma, and I couldn't look at the other front row that had like their best friends on, because they were all, there's like 3 couples, and they were all obviously absolutely gone. So I was like, you know what, just pick someone at the back that you don't really know, who's not as close, who's just going to be, like not sobbing. Could not find a single person that wasn't crying. And I was like, oh God. So I just kind of did from a bit of a middle distance staring.
Did you pick anyone?
No, because everyone was crying. So everyone would have made me cry. Yeah, God, hold it together, people. So yeah, so I did it and I got through it. I think I had a little bit of a wobble on a sentence at the end, but yeah, it was fine. And it was, I still say it was hard, but it was the easiest part of the whole day for me because like I had a job to do and I wanted to do it well. Whereas the rest of the day was like, how is this happening? Is this real? Oh my God, my dad's died. Whereas, yeah, doing that, I could kind of just go into like, I don't say work mode, but like I've had to do a lot of public speaking throughout my life for various reasons and kind of, I don't mind it. So I could kind of go into that zone a bit and be like, I know what I've written is good and I want people to hear these stories about me and my dad. And I think they're funny. So, yeah.
Yeah, the moment after you've given the speech, how do you feel? How do you go back to the crowd? How do you transition from being in that moment to...
Yeah, I think it was right at the end. So I think there was like maybe the prayer and then a piece of music. So there wasn't really much there. So I kind of, to be honest, was completely like away with the fairies a bit. And, it's getting to the end and they present me and my mum with his 2 helmets. And then, yeah, obviously you have like the final bit of music and then like, you're kind of saying your final goodbye. And yeah, my mum like found that really, really difficult. So my focus was just kind of like being there for her. I was, yeah, and just trying to not completely lose it. Yeah. I think I was just like, it's not real. It's not real. Yeah.
And now 12 months on, with life's other various stresses that naturally come along, how have you dealt with things? Yeah, how have you dealt with things?
Yeah, so I think, it was so much all at once because, like I said, I had the job and the house was also happening. So I pulled out of the job. But you can't pull out of an eviction. They still want you to get out. So yeah, we were obviously in the midst of what the hell has just happened, registering the death, funeral planning. Then I was like, oh my God, I've got to go back to London. I've got to pack and clear out my whole house. So we had to do that. I think it was 6 days after he died, which was just like, it was horrendous. Like, I loved my house. It was the first house I'd lived in London. Like, I'd had the best time. And, I'd left it on Monday lunchtime, like, completely normal, bit worried about my dad, not really sure what was going on. And then I was coming back, literally 6 days later and losing my home as well. And, like, I just lost my dad and I was losing my home. Like, it was awful. So that kind of took a bit... That sort of has added like complications. I did find a new house and it has been great, but it's still a change. And then the job, they got back in touch and I finished off the interview process sort of immediately after his funeral, somehow got the job. So started that as well. So by, 3 months from the day he died, I had, moved out of one house, moved into another house with a bit of time at my mum's in between, and was starting a new job that was like a big career step up. And that's quite a lot. So it didn't go great. That winter was really difficult. Me and my mum had a trip to Australia just after Christmas to see some of our best friends that live out there. So I was just focusing on like, just get to Australia. And yeah, I came back and went back to the job and carried on. And it just got to a point where I was like, yeah, new house, new job, dead dad, it's quite a lot. So I basically quit the job and they were like, hang on, we recognise there's some pretty major circumstances here. We'll hold your job for 6 months, take a break and have a think. And yeah, it will be here for you.
Which is a nice reflection both on the company and on you at the company as well.
I think I was really bad. I've been told many times that I wasn't bad when I was there, but I think I was awful because I kept crying in the office. And yeah, I didn't feel like I was, being my best self and performing as I think I should have done. But every time I say that, I get told off. So apparently I was doing well, but there we go. So I've been off, which has been good because just to have a moment to kind of breathe and kind of be like, wow, okay, all of this has really happened. It's been more complications that being booted out of this current house again. My mum is moving from the home that her and my dad had, and obviously there's always drama and complications with house moving, buying, selling chains. So I've been able to be there a lot more for her than I would have done. We've been able to clear out the house altogether and things like that. So, I think a lot of people were like, hop on a plane and go traveling for 6 months. But I've done that in the past when I was younger, and I do love traveling, but that's not what this time was for. I've been on holiday, but like that wasn't what I wanted to do and what I needed to do. Like I needed to be there for my mom primarily. And also just being able to enjoy kind of being a tourist in London a bit has been really nice because like we live in this incredible city and a lot of the time all we do is like work, gym, go out for drinks. Like you just living your normal life. So actually having time to, go to places when it's a bit quieter in the middle of the day on a work day. Though I always find it hilarious. I look around at people and I'm like, why aren't you at work? I know why I'm not at work, but why aren't you at work?
Interesting.
But yeah, it's been good to kind of have that time, be able to like focus on therapy and yeah, like help my mom a lot has been kind of the bulk of it really. But